The wind howled like a wounded animal, tearing through the skeletal cornfields and clawing at Eli McCready's face as he trudged home. Winter had come early to the Nebraska plains, and the old farmer's bones ached with every step. His boots sank into the muddied snow, each breath a visible plea for warmth. He'd spent the day reinforcing the barn, desperate to keep his last 2 dairy cows alive. Survival, he thought bitterly. That's all life is anymore. Then he heard it, a sound sharper than the wind. A cry. Not the shrill whistle of the storm, but something small, fragile. Human. Eli froze, his calloused hands tightening around the lantern he carried. The light trembled as he turned, scanning the field. Nothing but shadows and swaying stalks. But there it was again, a whimper, choked and desperate. He followed the sound, hard hammering, until his lantern's glow fell on a threadbare quilt, half buried in the snow. Beneath it lay 3 infants, their faces blue-tinged, tiny fists clenched against the cold. Eli's breath hitched. They were impossibly small, swaddled together like discarded kittens. One wailed weakly, the others lay silent, their chests barely rising. "Lord above," Eli whispered, dropping to his knees. His gloves fumbled as he tore them off, pressing a cracked fingertip to the quietest baby's throat. A pulse fluttered, faint, but there. Without thinking, he shrugged out of his oilskin coat and wrapped it around the bundle, then cradled all 3 against his chest. They felt lighter than hay bales. "Hold on," he muttered, though he didn't know if they could hear him. "Just hold on." The walk back to his farmhouse had never felt longer. Eli's arms burned, but he refused to slow. Memories flickered, his wife, Clara, holding their stillborn son decades ago, her tears soaking into his shoulder. The way her laughter had vanished after that, like a candle snuffed by the wind. He'd buried her 5 years back, and since then, the farm had become a tomb of silence. Until now. He kicked open the farmhouse door and staggered to the wood stove, stoking the embers into a blaze. The baby's whimpers sharpened as warmth seeped into their limbs. Eli rummaged for blankets, a pot of milk, anything to feed them. His hands shook as he dribbled lukewarm milk into their mouths with a rusty spoon, cursing his clumsiness. The smallest one, a girl with a tuft of coal-black hair, latched onto his thumb, her grip startlingly strong. "That's it," Eli rasped, his throat tight. "Fight, little one." A knock shattered the moment. Maggie Doyle, his sharp-tongued neighbor, stood on the porch, her truck idling behind her. She took one look at the babies and gasped. "Eli McCready, what in God's name?" "Found em in the field," he interrupted, stepping aside to let her in. Maggie's no-nonsense demeanor hit a heart softer than she'd admit. She'd brought him stew last winter when pneumonia nearly killed him, though she'd never mentioned it afterward. Maggie knelt by the stove, her weathered hands deftly checking the infants. "They're freezing, but alive. We need to get em to a hospital." Eli stiffened. "And let the state snatch em up? They'll end up in some overcrowded home, split apart." "You can't keep 3 newborns, Eli," Maggie snapped, though her voice wavered. She glanced at the girl still clutching his thumb. "But, maybe just for tonight. Till we figure this out?" As they worked, warming bottles, stitching together makeshift cribs from drawers, Eli noticed something. Tucked beneath the quilt was a faded Polaroid. 3 women, arms linked, smiling in front of a sunflower field. On the back, a scrawled message, "Please keep them safe. Their mother loved them." Eli's chest tightened. Who were these women? Why abandon children in a storm? Maggie eyed the photo. "Trouble follows babies like crows follow harvests," she muttered. "You sure you want this kind of trouble, old man?" Eli didn't answer. He was too busy counting breaths, too busy marveling at how something so broken, a barren farm, a lonely man, 3 half-frozen souls, could feel, for the first time in years, like a beginning. Morning light seeped through the farmhouse's grimy windows, painting gold stripes across the floorboards where Eli sat, one of the babies, the girl with the black hair, asleep in the crook of his arm. The storm had passed, leaving the world brittle and quiet. Maggie bustled in with a paper bag of supplies, her usual scowl softened by exhaustion. "Brought formula," she said, tossing it onto the table. "And diapers. Don't ask where I got 'em." Eli nodded his thanks, eyes lingering on the Polaroid propped against the coffee tin. The three women in the photo grinned back, sunflowers framing their faces like a halo. One wore a denim jacket with a patch sewn on the sleeve, a red star, frayed at the edges. Eli's chest tightened. He knew that patch. The old Miller farm, abandoned years ago, had sunfields that stretched for acres. Their sunfields. "Recognize something?" Maggie asked, catching his stare. "Maybe." He traced the photo's edge. That jacket belonged to Sarah Miller. She used to help Clara in the garden. Maggie's eyebrows shot up. "Sarah? The one who left town after her folks died?" "Ran off with some activist group," folks said. "Never saw her again." Eli hesitated. "But the other two women?" "I don't know." The baby in his arms stirred, her tiny fingers brushing his weathered wrist. Clara had wanted a house full of children. After the stillbirth, she'd started knitting blankets she never got to use. They still sat in a trunk upstairs, dusty and untouched. A knock rattled the door. Sheriff Grady stood on the porch, hat in hand, his boyish face apologetic. "Heard you had a situation, Eli." Maggie stepped forward, arms crossed. "We were fixin' to call you, Hank. Just needed a night to get 'em warm." The sheriff peered at the babies, his voice gentle. "You know I gotta contact social services. They'll send someone from Lincoln by afternoon." Eli stood abruptly, the baby tightening her grip on his shirt. "And then what?" "They'll be shuffled through homes, split up. You know how that goes." Hank sighed. "It's the law, Eli. You ain't equipped to raise 3 newborns." "Give us a day," Maggie cut in. Eli blinked at her. "Us? Just a day. If we can track down family, maybe." The sheriff rubbed his neck. 24 hours. After that, my hands are tied." The moment Hank's truck vanished down the road, Maggie turned to Eli. "Where's that Miller farm?" They bundled the babies into Maggie's pickup, heaters blasting. The Miller land lay 10 miles east, the dirt road choked with ice. Eli stared at the photo, the sunflower field in the background. Sarah loved those flowers. Said they were proof life could grow anywhere. When they arrived, the field was a graveyard of skeletal stalks, the farmhouse sagging under decades of neglect. But there, nailed to the porch beam, hung a denim jacket, sun-bleached and moth-eaten, its red star patch still clinging. Maggie pulled it down. "This means she's been here? Or someone wants us to think she has?" Eli's boot crunched over something in the snow. A pill bottle, label faded. He squinted. "Clonidine. For heart issues. Recent prescription." Maggie palmed it. "This was planted. No one's lived here in years." A cry pierced the air. Not the babies, this was fainter, human but raw. They followed it to a collapsed shed, its roof bowed under snow. Inside, a young woman lay shivering, her face gaunt, lips cracked. A fourth baby, smaller, swaddled in a matching quilt, was tucked against her chest. "Sarah?" Eli whispered. The woman's eyes fluttered open. "Not Sarah," she rasped. "Layla. Sarah's sister. She's gone. Took the others to find help. Left me here with the little one. I couldn't keep up." Maggie knelt, wrapping her scarf around the woman. "Others?" "The mothers." Lila's tears froze on her cheeks. "We were hiding. From the men who wanted the babies. Sarah said Eli McCready would keep them safe. She remembered Clara. Said you'd understand." Eli's breath caught. Clara's name, spoken aloud after so long, felt like a key turning in a rusted lock. Where is she now? Maggie pressed. Layla trembled. Gone to face them. To buy time. The babies began to wail in the truck, a chorus of need. Eli looked at Maggie, her jaw set with resolve, then at Lila's desperate face. For the first time in years, the numbness that had dogged him since Clara's death cracked, replaced by something fiercer. Clara would have fought for them, he thought. Let's go, he said. We're not losing anyone else. The farmhouse had become a fortress. Eli barred the windows, stoked the fire, and paced with the restless energy of a man half his age. Maggie tended to Lila and the infants, her hand steady but her voice betraying her fear. We can't outrun this, Eli. Those men, whoever they are, they'll come for the babies. Lila, propped up on the couch with the fourth child, a boy no bigger than a corncob, whispered, Sarah said they're powerful. They wanted to take the babies, sell them. We were just surrogates. When we refused, they threatened us. Sarah helped us run. Her voice broke. She stayed behind to distract them. Eli's jaw clenched. The thought of children treated like livestock made his blood boil. Clara's face flashed in his mind, her gentle hands cradling the tiny blanket she'd knit, her quiet grief when their son never drew breath. These babies deserved more than a life bartered in shadows. Maggie slammed a pot of coffee onto the stove. We call Hank. Now. This is bigger than us. No, Eli said. Not yet. Sarah trusted me. If those men are watching, they'll be waiting for the law to show. We need a different kind of reinforcements. By dusk, trucks rumbled up the dirt road. Not the sleek black vehicles Lila had described, but battered pickups and rusted sedans. Farmers from neighboring plots, their faces hardened by decades of droughts and hailstorms, filed into Eli's kitchen. Bert Yancey carried a shotgun, though Eli had insisted on no violence. It's for show, Bert grunted. Ain't lettin' no city snakes steal babies from our land. Maggie handed out mugs of coffee, her usual sarcasm replaced by quiet gratitude. Hank arrived last, his badge glinting. Heard there's a party, he said dryly, eyeing the crowd. Eli stood at the head of the table, the Polaroid in hand. These babies have mothers who fought for 'em, he said. Mothers who ain't here to see 'em safe. We're all they've got. The room erupted, a chorus of amens and hell yes. Hank raised a hand. I'll post deputies on the road. But Eli, if those men come, we do this legal. Understood? Eli nodded, though his heart thrummed like a tractor engine. Legal didn't always mean right. They came at midnight. 2 black SUVs slithered up the driveway, headlights off. Eli watched from the porch, Maggie at his side. A man in a tailored coat stepped out, his smile slick as oil. Evening. We're here for what's ours. Eli crossed his arms. Ain't nothin' here yours. The man's smirk faltered as figures emerged from the shadows, Bert, Hank, a dozen others, their silhouettes broad and unyielding. Maggie stepped forward, her voice steel. You've got 5 seconds to turn around before Sheriff Grady arrests you for trespassing. And trust me, we don't take kindly to child traffickers in this county. The man hesitated, scanning the crowd. For a heartbeat, Eli feared violence. Then, with a hissed curse, the man climbed back into his SUV. Tires spat gravel as they vanished into the night. The farm erupted in cheers. Eli sagged against the doorframe, the adrenaline leaching from his bones. Weeks later, the fields thawed, and the state ruled the babies would stay in the county, temporarily, while authorities searched for family. Lila, recovering in Eli's spare room, confessed the truth. The mothers were all like her, young, desperate, promised money to carry children they'd never intended to surrender. Sarah had been their lifeline, a midwife with a rebel's heart. She saved us, Lila said. But she didn't make it out. Eli hung Sarah's denim jacket in the barn, its red star patch facing the sunrise. The babies, Grace, Henry, Rose, and Samuel, thrived. Bert's wife organized a rotation of neighbors to help. Even Maggie learned to rock a colicky infant without cursing. Eli, though, rarely let them go. He'd found Clara's knitted blankets in the trunk, their pastel hues unfaded by time. One evening, as fireflies winked over the fields, Maggie found Eli on the porch, Samuel asleep on his chest. "Social services called," she said quietly. "They found an aunt for Grace and Henry. Out in Iowa." Eli's throat tightened. "And the others?" "Still lookin'." He stared at the horizon, where storm clouds brewed. "They'll stay with me. However long they need." Maggie smiled, a rare, unguarded thing. "Clara'd be proud, you old coot." The sunflower field bloomed again that summer, golden and defiant. Eli planted it for Sarah, for Clara, for the mothers who'd loved their children enough to let go. The babies grew, their laughter weaving through the farmhouse like a promise that love could take root in the rockiest soil, that broken men could still nurture miracles. And when strangers asked Eli why he'd fought so hard for children not his own, he'd simply point to the Polaroid on his mantle, 3 women arm in arm, their joy eternal, and say, "Because someone once taught me that family ain't always blood. It's the ones you choose to fight for." If you liked it, subscribe to the channel and enjoy these other amazing stories.